What's up, everyone? Pittsburgh White Shorts coming at you with another deck tech. I'm joined today by Brian.
I am here. Hello, hello.
Today we are going over a deck that we've talked about and referenced a lot in all our videos, and I realized today that we haven't actually covered, and that is 8-door Itsuki with the movie stuff. This stuff's going to be coming to English. We haven't done our set review for Quince yet, but we will be doing it very soon. But this is something that we wanted to cover just to give you guys an idea of what is coming, and just sort of the general power level of what is going to be coming to English in the future. So yeah, let's just take a look here. Let's jump into it. Brian, I'm sure you're very familiar with this list by this point.
Yep, played into it a lot. Yeah, Tyler's the Quince boy.
I recently picked this up. Been playing into it a lot ever since it came out, because not only playing Tyler, but when we travel, everybody has this deck. We're traveling because it's like the upcoming big deck. It's gone through a lot of different iterations. This is like the most modern iteration, based on like what's currently being played and stuff like that. And we'll go over why. There's like some cards missing that you might expect or whatnot that we're not playing, and we're going to get into why. So let's just hop through card by card. This is a promo from Quince 2. You can actually still nab this now on TCG Player if you act fast, for picking it up for English before it spikes. This card is very expensive in Japanese. It's not expensive in English yet, so get out there and grab your copies while you can. It is on play. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a character or an event, put it underneath this, and then it gains 3k, so 4k Futaba. The reason we're playing this is without this, Itsuki really struggles to kill things at level 0. It is very easy for modern decks to tri-field, especially stuff like Hololive, things that can +2 off one lane, or if that lane lives, which is usually a 35, maybe you move +3 times. It's very easy for decks to very aggressively push, so that very small runner is not very good. So we're going to opt to do this so that we can play some lanes at 0, actually win some lanes, chance for this card to live, as well as it retains some value later. You get the top check, leave it there, or marker it, get a multiple card brainstorm, just a little bit of extra mill, check your trigger, things like that.
And if you can't get a hold of this promo, you play the Nino Center Runner at 0, or is there a different alternative?
You can play the Nino Center Runner, or you can play, there's another 4K as well in green. Okay. This one just has the most extra utility, as well as being an Itsuki.
Yeah, is the 4K Itsuki, or?
I believe so, it's green.
Okay, then maybe that one, because I know there are some cards in this deck that require a full board of Itsuki named characters.
Yeah, there's a lot of cards like that. Moving on, new card here. This is a movie card. This card's actually insane. So if you use an act, this card gets a soul. So it's a costless 2-soul beater at any point in the game, especially at level 0, which is pretty nice because this card is also a Ricky. It is a pay 1 on play. Choose a character with Itsuki in name and waiting room and put it on the bottom of your clock. So this card trivializes your experience conditions at every point in the game. So if you've played 8-door Itsuki before, the English version, sometimes if things go really poorly or you just don't see them, whiffing your experience early means that your deck just literally doesn't work, because your level 1 combo needs level 2 experience. A lot of your cards later on need experience 5. Your finisher needs experience 6. Things of that nature. This card completely trivializes that. You will literally never miss experience. It is almost impossible with this card in your deck, as well as it being a search Ricky for your level 1 combo or whatever else you need, because all your cards are Itsuki. So you don't have to worry about that. Every card you would search with this is an Itsuki.
Pretty cool.
We are playing the set 2 Brainstorm that gives you +1 hand limit, so that's 8 hand when this card's on the field, 9 if you have 2. During your turn, if you have 5 or more cards in hand, it's 500 to front only on your turn, and only if you have 5 or more hand. Important to keep in mind. Depending on your sequencing with your level 1 combo, might not be there for the first attack or something like that, so make sure you sequence accordingly. And it is a search Brainstorm, since everything else is salvage. This gives you some deck access. Only hits on door, but that doesn't matter because we play 8 doors. Our other back row, if you ever thought Onstage Silica was a pretty good card, look at even better Onstage Silica. This card also buffs our hand size by 1, so we're going to sit at a 9-card hand no matter what our back row setup is. This card has 2 act abilities. You can pay 1, rest this, choose one of your characters. It gets on reverse salvage, so it gives you some selective plussing there, so long as you can win your lane, as well as being an act. That's very important for the Itsuki deck. Then it has a free act as long as you have experience 3, which you're going to from level 1 onwards, because if you're Ricky, give any of your characters 2k, as well as being an act to further buff your stuff. This this card is like ridiculously overspec.
It's gross, yeah.
Yeah, this is like one of the most disgusting cards that they've ever printed.
I mean, imagine adding +1 hand size and also being able to add additional cards to hand on demand with the onstage silica effect.
Yeah.
While also having a tertiary effect that allows you to proc your act abilities for free if you're in dire straits and can't afford it. It's kind of crazy.
You can even tap this at 0 even if you don't meet condition, just to fire off Axe, which is very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pumps your Ricky and some other stuff. A couple quick tech cards here, rounding out our level 0. We're going to play this Drop Search. This one specifically because if we whiff level 1 combo in this deck, it's terrible. You really need to hit your level 1 combo for the deck to start popping off. So this is a Drop Search that also has the Amelia effect where you look it up to 2, choose a card from among them, add it to hand, then ditch. So it's like a 2-card dig, just as an additional way to dig to your climax. That is also why we are going to be playing this card. This is you put a card from your hand into your clock, look at top X, where X is equal to the number of other quintuplets you have. So it looks at 4 for no stock cost, which in the early game might be an issue, especially if you're resolving the Ricky that your experience. When your opponent plays a climax, you may send this into your stock. If you are able to attack with this or something like that, it might stock gen you as well as dig you into your climax. Without these 2 cards, like whiffing our level 1 combo would be very reasonable thing to have happen. We'd be a pretty normal deck, but with these, we have a lot of assurance going into our level 1, as well as with a non-Itsuki card, the climax swap. You can this is an Ichika where you can optionally hand a stock. This deck can very easily go over hand even with 9 hand, so this card existing has a little bit of extra value there to just get a little bit of extra stock gen out of the hand that you would otherwise ditch, as well as being a climax swap, which is always a nice effect. Moving into level 1s, we have the old Itsuki level 1 combo. When you act, it gets 1500 power, so that's a backup or an act on your turn. Goes to 6k base, 7 with climax. Then on attack, as long as you have experience 2 or higher, which you definitely will, again from the Ricky, discard any card, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose characters. We don't play the code word event. Not sure many decks do.
I have not seen one that does, yeah.
Yeah, I think the event is fine, but I think you have better things to be playing, especially after movie. And then
it's plenty good on its own. So.
Yeah, and you can add all 3 cards if they're all characters. Then discard climaxes, other things that whiffs on. So this is pretty much always a +1, unless you have terrible luck, regularly a +2. We can go up to 9 hand, so try fielding this. This profile was printed in other sets, but when you're a 7-card hand limit, you usually only ever field 2 of this profile. But now that we can go to 9 hand, we can just slam down 3, which we can easily search out,
cards, yep.
and just immediately go to a 9-card hand and sit there. And you might even be able to have this card live cross turn and combo again, which is absolutely disgusting.
Hand compression is the best kind of compression.
Yeah, just go ridiculous with your hand. Supporting that, we have this new Itsuki. This effect activates up to once per turn. When you use an act, this card gets +X, where X is equal to the number of Itsukis on your board times 500, including itself. So this card can get 2500 power and go to 7 before climax or anything like that. And when you use an act effect, this card is on attack, reveal top. If it's a level 1 or higher card, put it to stock. So this is like free stock gen, because you're tapping down X every turn. You got a free act, or you're brainstorming, or you're using the onstage silica. This card gets super big when you tap down. It's like it could be like 10k with climax down at level 1s. It's like this ridiculous beater that might give you free stock. This card is also ridiculously overspec. This is like the Quince name locking, the waifu locking effect coming into play here, where these cards just appear to be ridiculously overspec, and it's like hand waved by being quote unquote waifu tax. But it's not really waifu tax if every girl has every card.
You're right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, compare this to the Mel Stalker from Hololive. That is what, 6k on turn if you activate its effect, and then it does the same stocking thing. This card, if you happen to use a backup in any lane during your opponent's turn while this card is on the board, it immediately jumps up to 7k before backup power. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Another ridiculously overspec card. This is the Burger Itsuki, if you've seen the foil. On play, discard any card, search a copy copy of your level 1 combo. If that wasn't dumb enough, after that card's done its thing, pay 1, sack this, mill top 2, salvage X, where X is the total level of the cards milled by this effect. So you pay 1, sack cigarettes. So you grab a combo from your deck, you grab a combo from your grave, and then you triple combo. This card's also just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
These two cards specifically, I don't know why anyone thought were okay. These are like some of the most disgusting like consistency tools I've ever seen for a deck.
Like burger in on stage, or
burger on stage, and the 1/0 Mel for those like giving you are just like ridiculous cards. Rounding out level 1, we are playing a 2K counter. I have the Yotsuba here because I prefer a little bit extra splash of green. We could easily play the Itsuki one as well, which is red. Those are like all from the trial deck, so you'll have to track down the old Quinn's trial decks at this point from the quintessential set. If you bought the quintessential set, you have them all, so play whatever one you want. I don't think you'll ever be rickying for a 1/0 counter in this deck, but the reason we play the 1/0 2K counter to kick our axe as opposed to playing the runner, I got a couple bullet points here, we'll just quickly run through them. The most important part is that the runner requires us to win board in every lane just to work. You need to have full field for this to be considered a counter. So if you lose even one lane at any point in the game, your 2K backups aren't live and you can never kick that. So that's like kind of a grief. So we're just not going to do that. We're not going to run the card. Low power at 0 means we can't answer much if we run this at 4 count like we'd want to. So we're not going to play it for that reason as well. And again, most decks easily tri-field. This is a 1K runner. It's going to die. However, you can squeeze this in as a one of tech if you feel you don't need one of the climax digs or something like that. You can run it in there and it works fine in that sort of vein. But other than that, I don't think the card should be ran as the primary plussing 0 for these reasons. Moving on, level 2, another ridiculous card. During your turn, if the total level of cards in your level zone is 5 or higher, this card gets 5,500 power, making it a 12/5 in the following effect. When this card's battle opponent is reversed, you can send the card that you kick to clock. So it's like a clock kicker, like a clock bomb, but you got to beat over it to get that effect. And then it also has another nifty effect where you can, on play, pay 1, ditch any card, search any door.
Nice. Yeah. Any door.
Any door. So you can search your level 1, you can search your finisher for some reason, if somehow you whiff it, which is like almost impossible, but it is something you could do. Basically, you're gonna like, if one of your level 1 combos lives and your opponent plays an early play or something like that, you go and grab another door combo again if you have to mill. Or you just kill their early play and like send it to clock. If your opponent has a 2/2, you just kill that, send it to clock. Because this card can't be anti-changed. It's also, you have this and one of the mells down very regularly. This card can play for free. Your whole turn can be quote-unquote free. Notably, the stock threshold you're trying to hit in this deck is only 6 to triple combo. That is all you need.
Yeah, combo is entirely hand gated.
Yeah, it is more about keeping up your hand, which again is unbelievably easy with 8 doors and all the plussing power that you have. So this, instead of like playing an early play to counter an early play, which you can do if you're trying to contest multiple lanes, is sometimes a better play. Since this is like stock light, you don't need to have much stock, so you can just like spend this, go get a door, combo off again, go back up to 6, and you're still ready to kill. We're also playing this Nino anti-change counter, also an older card. This is just a like crept anti-change counter with this hilarious condition of you have to have at least 4 Quinn's characters on your board. So it's just a pay 3 sack anti-change counter where you don't have to sack because you have Quinn's characters on your board. So it's just better. So we're gonna play this one. We don't really care about the zone or anything anymore. We just need a way to, fog damage or whatever. Yeah, whatever you need to do. This card does it for you, so we're playing that as well as being a 2,500 counter. Into our early plays, we are playing 6 to help us with our experience condition. This is the set 2/1. If you have 4 more characters with Itsuki, it gets -1 level in your hand, so full board in this deck, unless you have like the Ichika climax swap downs, the only card that could screw this up for you because the other cards are backups. And then on play, you heal 1, and then you can choose one of your opponent's characters, and it can't become reverse. So like your opponent can't Adachi this, which is pretty funny. It like blocks out Adachi. It was meant to like support another card that was an on reverse finisher, so your opponent couldn't crash out and deny your combo, but it has like some other funny uses. But the other important effect here is when you use an act against 3K, so it's like a 3/2 11K if you use a backup or you use an act on your turn, which you again definitely. So it's basically just a 3/2 full field 11K. which is definitely good. New early play supplementing that. This is a 2 or less condition early play, where on play you can discard a character with Itsuki in name to heal the top card of your clock to your hand, which is like an interesting heal that like gets around anti-heal if Grisaya ever becomes a thing, which is pretty funny. And then activates up to once per turn when you use an act, gets 500 power times Itsuki, so it's just a giant beater. It's like a 12-5 or other, so it's a 12k plus whatever. It can become like a 14, 15 with climax down. Card gets pretty big. This is sort of like your beater option, but it still gives you 6 healers in the deck. Lastly, the finisher. This is like the thing, the reason that you're playing this deck, with like all the hand and stuff like that, all these like ridiculous power card profiles, and then ending in this is just better than the one that they already have, which is already pretty good. So on play, look at up to 3 and gain 15. The digs for its own climax, cantrips. Cantripping is very important. Again, this combo is completely hand gated. You're going to need 9 hand after you play the climax and play these down to do the full combo, which sounds hard, but it's really not. So this card cantripping is very important. On attack, discard any 3 cards. They don't have to be characters anymore. As long as you have experience 6, you burn 3 and then mocha your opponent for 2. Look at up to 2 cards at the top of your opponent's deck. Delete anything you don't like, put whatever back. That like sounds fairly innocuous, but let's take a little look at the numbers here. So I grabbed these from the finisher like number plotting document. I will have that linked in the description, the community like finisher plotting stuff that is done using simulations. And I just want to have Itsuki out here. Look at Itsuki's numbers. You can see as you go across, you know, like pretty decent chance to kill your opponent from 3-0, like 75% or higher at most deck states. Even in like a pretty compressed deck state like 825, you got a higher than 50% chance to just yeet your opponent. If your opponent is less compressed, you can easily kill them from like 2-4 or something like that. Like 6 and 30, you have like an 89% chance to deal 9 damage. Like pretty ridiculous numbers on this. Of course, like simulations are like, you know, a little bit misleading because of, you know, so many different crazy things can happen and so many different decisions can be made on turn and different crazy things can occur. Your opponent can play like mill counters and stuff like that, but just something to keep in mind. What I really wanted to do was I wanted to compare this to other finishers, 2 finishers that people think are good and 1 finisher that's just kind of free to give us like a baseline. So you can see at the bottom here, triple mocha, it costs 6 stock, but you don't have to expend any hand, so it's fairly free. But you can see the numbers are pretty middling, especially for trying to deal kill from 3-0, which is definitely like the marker of like a triple finish combo. You can see triple Ichika and Finn and Jake requiring a lot more stock, less hand but more stock, but like something like Finn and Jake doesn't cantrip. That's why I have the asterisk here. Ichika and Itsuki cantrip. The difference here for Itsuki is that she has such incredible numbers. Her numbers might not be overall as good as triple Ichika or Finn and Jake at some compression states, but triple Itsuki only takes 6 stock. You have the Mel that generates you an extra stock. You have like, if you only need like 2 turns of like just kind of attacking or like winning board, stuff like that, to have full resources to go full or a triple finisher. So you will see triple Itsuki almost every game, whereas seeing triple Ichika or triple Finn and Jake is like a massive high roll, right? Whereas triple Itsuki is extremely achievable and happens more often than not. So the fact that her numbers are so similar and she is so much easier to do over the course of a game because she's hand gated and stock gated, and the deck has so many ways to generate hand, as well as you know, has an extra way to even generate stock throughout the game. The deck basically just goes off every single game.
I mean, not to mention the fact that the combo itself, while being hand gated, 9 hand just so happens to be your max hand size in this deck.
Yeah, you draw 1 for turn, so you're at 10 slam climax, you're at 9.
3 of these that cantrip and the climax, done.
Yeah, it's conceptually pretty easy to see how this can go off pretty much every game. 8 door triggers, just helping you out even more. Grab whatever you want from your grave. Brainstorm searches, on stage salvages, combo rips cards off the top of your deck. You're adding cards from whatever zone you need. Don't really have to worry about much. And here is the list all laid out again. It is very directed. I mean, if you're trying to squeeze something in, you can cut down on the 1-0 Mel. If you're trying to get cute, I would definitely advocate for playing the 4K. I don't think going back, I think a lot of people that like have issues with the Itsuki list, I feel like they are the people who are still playing the runner, like from the beginning. That's been a pretty common through line, and people I've talked to about the deck. I think moving away from that and moving even to something like the Nino Center Run or something like that, just not that backup, because you only have to lose one lane for that card to pretty much be a dead card in your hand. So you want to play less dead cards throughout the game. Of course, you have a billion ways to throw cards away here, like especially with your level 1 combo, so you don't have to worry about like a level 0 like a 4K being dead later. And it does have a little bit of extra utility over other 4Ks, so I think that is definitely the best slot. It's why the card's super expensive in Japanese. Grab those off TCG Player now or from your locals or something like that while you can. But I think that's it. Any closing thoughts about the list, Brian? This is kind of like...
I don't think so, other than the fact that just having 9-hand in general is kind of disgusting, and the fact that that plays into exactly what this pretty strong finisher wants just makes this deck really gross overall.
Over the course of a game too, like not having to like ditch copies of cards that you might not want, so you don't even have to make decisions.
It gives you a lot more flexibility in what you keep in your hand.
Yeah, you can just kind of let your hand grow. So it means like cards that you add randomly off the top, like when you draw, clock, combo, become more valuable because you can just sit on an excess of these cards. You know, you might use, you might not. It doesn't really matter. You can ditch them to fuel other stuff. So just the flexibility. This is kind of gonna be the new marker of what to beat for like a 1K1 sorta non-interactive kind of spin my wheels and kill them kind of deck. This is gonna be the new power target that things are gonna have to hit. It quite frankly, I don't want to be too doomer here, completely outclasses everything that comes before it. There is quite really no reason to play other decks of this sort of archetype, like of this ilk, when you could play this outside of personal preference. Especially if you get in now and you get the cards while you like right now in advance. The deck's not even going to be very expensive at all. You could probably put the deck together for under $100, $120, depending on what things are at release when things come out, because Quince is always over open and there's always an overabundance of product because people are cracking for foils. But definitely benefiting from Nino riding high right now. The Itsuki stuff is very cheap, so get in while you can before she becomes the Quint to beat. Of course, 8 Standby Nino also becomes pretty good, pretty different kind of deck afterwards, but similar strategy, of course, but different tools to get there.
We don't have quite the same
restriction list
as we do in Japanese, So Standby will probably still be a thing, but this deck will definitely be gross.
Yeah, so but this is the power target. When we're doomering about it, this is why. This is just kind of what you can expect. And stuff like Avatar and what was it, Chainsaw Man, we really know nothing about, are gonna have to measure up to something like this to kind of be competitive, because when a deck like this is around, where it kind of freely, easily, and fairly costlessly deals with most anything thrown in front of it while continuing to pump out this triple of this finisher most games, most being like, I could reasonably say what, like, Brian, you think like 80% of games or more you see
triple finisher?
Yeah,
I would say so, yeah.
I feel like it's super common, unless of course, you know, there's always the games where everything blows up. That's what the 20% is for.
Horribly wrong, but I mean that's just Weiss. And
yeah, it's just really, Weiss Schwartz.
Really gauge a deck on that.
But yeah, this is what things are gonna have to measure up to, because if this just kind of like raffle stomps you and your deck doesn't do anything unique to the rest of the field, why aren't you playing this instead of the other thing? It kind of creates one of those scenarios. So I'm hopeful. I hope that people are coming up with some stuff. I know there's rumblings of things in Seven Deadly Sins. I've seen some pretty cool lists, some like 6 Stock Soul, 2 choice Escanor lists, some stuff with Holy Knights, some stuff with Meliodas, like we talked about with Tyler the other week. People are definitely working on stuff with that. I hope Avatar's good. I obviously hope Chainsaw Man's good. And we'll have something to give Itsuki a run for her money, because I personally don't want to play mirrors for that deck. Because you kind of just wait and see who dies.
I've got hope for Avatar. We haven't had an English exclusive in a while that was a complete and total dud. So
yeah. There's been something there. All right. We will definitely be aiming to do Quinn set review soon. Hopefully next week we can start that. But it might be a week after. Depends on scheduling. But with that, Pittsburgh White Schwartz signing off. We will see you all at the next one.